This next question is for you, Ms. Hukill. Your opponent was endorsed by the Orlando Sentinel. Does that mean much to you?
No. Well, let me clarify that. I did write a response. The Orlando Sentinel gives you the opportunity to write a response to their endorsement. I wrote a response, and what I said, I didn't say, as Frank has said, that they're out of times or whatever. I said that there's a disconnect between the Orlando Sentinel and the citizens of District 8, Volusia, Marion, and Lake. The most important issue to everyone right now is the issue of jobs and the economy. There is not one mention in 304 words of the word jobs or economy. That shows the disconnect between the newspaper and what's important to people in the district. You cannot go meet with a voter for more than 2 seconds without the issue of the economy of Florida and jobs coming up. All of the things that they talked about in the endorsement are not what concerns the people of District 8.
You have a minute left if you want to continue.
I'm fine.
Thank you. Mr. Bruno, your reaction to the endorsement in the Orlando Sentinel, which I thought was very thorough.
Let me just tell you, I'm proud of the endorsement, and I just want to say that they looked at her record, they looked at the bills she was passing, they basically asked her why she was passing those bills, to deregulate and take off consumer protections against crooked auto mechanics, to take regulations away from telemarketers and crooked movers. I mean, they said that they didn't agree with any of the bills. She couldn't even answer the questions when they asked her what the bills were. And so I'm just saying, they looked at quality of life issues. I brought that up in the beginning of this campaign, and now she's modeling it. I talked about education, number 1, jobs, number 2, and our quality of life is number 3. And they're still very important, and they should be important if you're going to have the jobs for the future.
Thank you. 2 questions left. Mr. Bruno, the Sentinel followed up with another story saying that the state Democratic Party has shifted its funding away from you because there is concern about winning the seat. Does that give your opponent an advantage? Also, your opponent is reportedly ahead in a poll conducted by the St. Pete polls, plus or minus 4%. What is your reaction?
The only poll that makes any sense at all is the poll that's going to be taken on election night. And that's the one that I'm looking forward to.
As a follow-up to that, as far as, do you feel like you'll have enough money to compete?
Let me just tell you, we're 2 weeks away from election day, okay? All of my TV ads have been paid for. All of my ads in the newspapers, on all the newspapers in all 3 counties have been paid for. All my radio is paid for. All my mailings are paid for. All my staff is paid for. The whole purpose of having money, and I raised like $350,000, and then the state put in another almost $1 million, is to pay for these things just before an election. It doesn't pay to have any money left over after an election. So I'm proud of what we've been able to do and what we've been able to buy.
Ms. Hukill, your reaction to the question about the state Dems going in another direction, and also the poll, please. 2 minutes.
Well, I think the fact that his party has made a decision to pull their support and put it in other races obviously shows how important other races are and how much they feel that this race is just not winnable. I think they read polls just as we read polls. And that's the only comment I'm going to make about that. I am proud of our campaign. Our campaign is fully funded. I'm proud that we have the support of so many people across the entire district. I'm proud that we have the support of leadership They realize how important this area is and how important this race is. They realize that when I am elected to this area, that I will be a person who concentrates on jobs and the economy, the number one issue, jobs and the economy. So I am proud of that support. We have outraised our opponent, but the bottom line is the polls are showing that our message is getting out and that people are agreeing with the message.
Mr. Bruno, a quick follow-up.
She has outraised me. She started almost a year before me. Let me just say that 90% of her money comes from people inside Tallahassee area. 90% of my money comes from Volusia County and the district. That makes a difference on election day.
Not worth an answer.
Okay, final questions. Ms. Hukill, the state Senate position pays approximately $29,000 a year. The Dems have given Bruno $1.5 million, and he's raised about $350,000. There have been reports the Republicans have pledged about $3 million, give or take, in TV advertising, while you have raised close to $500,000. My question is this: how can you convince voters struggling to make ends meet in this entrenched recession that you are one of them?
Well, I think that voters in the district, at least in the Volusia part of the district, who've known me for a very long time, and voters in Marion and Lake that have gotten to know us, know how important their issues are to me. I am not a wealthy person, and I face the same challenges that many of the people in the district face. But more importantly, is I listen to what concerns them, and I listen to the challenges that they face every single day in their life. It's unfortunate that maybe campaigns cost a lot of money, that is true. But what is more important is to have people in those positions who will concentrate on policies and incentives so that Floridians will get back to work. The most important thing we can do right now is to get a job, give a job to a person, at least have the job creators create jobs so that someone can get back to work, feed their family, and then they can do things like afford a home. Send their children to special places, take advantage of all the lovely beauties of the state of Florida.
Thank you. Mr. Bruno, I have the same question to you.
You know, talking about creating jobs, I started a business. I grew that business. I created jobs. I know what it's like to make a payroll for 23 years and sell that business, a profitable business today. So people can't tell me that I don't know what it's like. And what we're doing here in Volusia County, creating jobs, we're doing it with the support of all of our colleges and universities, with higher education. We need to put more money towards education. You know, Dorothy has had 8 years to support education. And to be quite honest with you, the school system today has a referendum out there to raise our millage 1 mil because they do not have enough funds. Now, Miss Hukill basically says that they have enough money, and she also brings up the point that we're moving ahead. Let me just tell you, the district cost differential in Volusia County, she is supporting education by sending $97 million to places like Miami. That money should stay here in Volusia County, and we would not have to have that.
Go ahead.
Do I get a response to that?
Losing track. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll make this real quick in terms of education. You know what? I do value education. I'm a product of public school education. My son is a product. I'm a former public school, elementary school teacher. We have just put back $1 billion in public education. Public education has been funded at all-time record highs. And now as a result of the billions of dollars of shortfall, yes, public education was the last area to be cut, but it's the first area to be restored. We have made great strides in public education. In fact, Florida has made the second most strides in education throughout the entire nation since 1995. And that's as a result of policies that have been instituted by the Florida legislature and which I support. Those are policies of accountability and funding.
Mrs. Darden was going to ask a question of the two candidates. And I would like the responses to be limited to 1 minute each.
Thank you very much. I appreciate Henry giving me the opportunity to ask this question. It's an issues question rather than a campaign question. On Election Day, all of us voters are going to be addressing 11 amendments on for the Florida Constitution. My question is specific to Amendment 4, which was put on the ballot specifically to try and strengthen the struggling housing industry and commercial real estate industry, which has been failing for 5 years, and of course it's one of the major economic drivers of the Florida economy. My question to you both, and I'll ask you to answer it first, please, Representative Hukill, is what is your understanding of and your position on Amendment 4 and its individual provisions? What is your understanding of its benefits or lack thereof in the short and long term?
Well, thank you very much. I support Amendment 4. Obviously, I voted for it in the Florida House, so I strongly support it. This will be on the ballot, and the voters will make the final decision as to whether or not this Amendment 4 will be adopted. Basically, what it does three things. If you have a first-time home buyer, that means someone who's not owned a homestead within the last 3 years, that they will get a substantial tax break, and that's meant to jumpstart the housing industry, the construction industry, as we know that is so important to the state of Florida. Also, what it does is that it caps the assessed value of non-homestead properties. All of us here who own a home, and it's a homestead, we are capped at 3%. However, non-homestead properties really bear the brunt of increased taxes because their cap is at 10. This would reduce it to 5. The number 3 thing that this particular amendment would do, which is incredibly important, is that there's really a glitch in the way the amendment was really adopted in terms of capping homestead assessments, which provides that even when values go down under certain circumstances, your taxes can go up, and that is unfair, and this would stop that.
And to you, Chairman Bruno, and I if you don't mind my interrupting for a second, the reason I raise this question is because 2 of those 3 provisions will be bouncing back on you all as legislators to write general law.
Well, let me just say this, that it is an amendment. People are going to vote for that. People need to read into these amendments. There are a number of them, and people need to understand what they're voting for. It is not my decision. It is the people's decision, and whatever the people's decision, I will abide by. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen Darden. Now, citizens' participation. Is there anyone that wants to speak? We're going to have to make it real quick because we're running out of time. We do? We'll start with you, sir. First name, last name, and home community.
Robert Clinton, I'm from Edgewater. I know both the candidates I have for years. The question's longer than the answer should be. In 1986, Florida voters authorized a lottery through a constitutional amendment enacted by a 2-to-1 margin that would use its proceeds to enhance public education. It seems that we were sold a pig in a poke. Over the last 26 years, the state has taken tax revenue away from schools, dollar for dollar, that the lottery has brought in. Could you please define your definition of enhance?
Well, if I'm going to answer that first,
Either one.
let me just say that you are absolutely right. It should have gone to enhancing education. But Dorothy basically has this handout that I received, and it says invest in education. And she'll tell you that she put $1 billion back into education, but she didn't tell you that she took billions of dollars out in years past. We are back to the 2002 levels as far as education. She'll also tell you that there's a Harvard study on how we are progressing here in the state of Florida. Well, let me just say that in 2011...
I want to give as much time to the residents I realize this is.
Okay, it did not go for enhancement, it should have gone for enhancement, but the legislature should have put the money where it should have been, and that is for public education.
Very well done.
Yes, I do. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for that question. As a matter of fact, the amendment did not use the word enhancement. It used the word education to be appropriated by the legislature. But putting that aside, that's what it says. I'll just tell you, last year, 2012, 2013, the current year we're in, $1.49 billion has been used for education. And it goes from public schools, Bright Futures Scholarship, construction funds, state universities, community colleges, other financial aid, and workforce education. So yes, in fact, it is used for education. It is used for nothing but education except for the cost of running the program and the prize.